Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
But guys, welcome back to Breaking Barriers. Today I'm super excited. We have owner of Burger 25, my guy Steve here. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
No problem, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited. So my wife and I, I started to say this before we started recording, but my wife and I went for the first time, I think about like a month ago.
Yeah.
And I was hooked.
Yeah.
Like hooked.
Awesome.
I got the smash burger. And then we got an Oreo shake, right? And I remember we went there. I told you my wife's pregnant.
Yeah.
She, boom, she slammed it, and we're like, let's just share a shake, whatever.
Yeah, it's not allowed.
Didn't happen.
Yeah, right.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
She wound up drinking most of the shake. It wasn't good, and she's pregnant. So, but the parking lot, you can't get a spot in that freaking parking lot. It's packed. Like, I went on a random day. I'm like, the day we went, I'm like, it's a random day. It's during the week. We went to go see her sister. Her sister was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm lying. The day we went was a Saturday, but it was like a Saturday at it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock. Like, I thought, I was like, it's past the lunch rush. Like, we should be lucky.
Right.
We pull into the parking lot, mobbed. I'm pretty sure I illegally parked in the green building, whatever that thing is on the side over there.
Fish store,
I parked back there. I snuck a little park job back there.
Yeah.
But anyway, clearly your concept is doing really well, Burger 25.
Yeah.
Now, before we start, people are going to say, who the fuck is Steve? So who the fuck is Steve?
All right, so we'll go there. So I'm Steve. I'm 47 years old. I'm born and raised and live in Toms River my whole life. Got into the mortgage business 26 years ago, 1998.
Wow.
1998, started in the mortgage business. Still in the mortgage business these days. My story goes crazy. So I'm actually legally deaf.
Really?
I don't hear one word out of either ear. I listen to this conversation with a cochlear implant.
Stop it.
That's my story. That brings us to Burger 25. I could do it in a Cliff Notes version. I could tell you the whole story.
Oh my God.
I'll give you the Cliff Notes for now. So, all right, let's call it.
Wait, so how does that work then, though? So with it's essentially you're able to hear through that device?
Correct. So
Got it.
I was losing my hearing. So I had perfect hearing until I was 20 years old.
Okay.
All right, I'm 47, so 27 years of something not so perfect,
Yeah.
right? So long story short, I get married. I always tell the story, and this is how I can make people relate to it. I remember, when you get married, you got to meet and we got married in a church, so we got to meet the priest.
Yes.
The priest is going to tell you, make sure you're compatible a couple times.
Yes.
I remember
Pre-Cana.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Pre-Cana.
Right. So I remember the conversation I had with the priest, and my soon-to-be wife was there, and I was like, listen, I got to talk to the priest for a second. I just got to make sure. I'm like, hey, listen, can you give me the vows before we get married, so this way I can memorize them? And he was like, why? I'm like, well, at this time I didn't have a cochlear implant. I had nothing. I was like, well, I'm losing my hearing, and honestly, it's hard in a church environment. I don't want to sit on the, what did you say?
Yeah, I can't hear you. Right.
I can't hear you, so on and so forth. So that was the beginning of it. You fast forward, you have kids.
Yeah.
I'm coaching my kids. I'm on Little League fields. The little kids are saying, hey, Steve, Coach Steve, Coach Steve. And I'm ignoring them to them because I can't hear them. And after a while, my wife's like, listen, we got to go to a doctor. Like, you got to do something. You go to, hearing doctors, hearing specialty people, and, hearing aid companies, so on and so forth. And everybody's basically telling me the same thing. Like, listen, you don't have, a hearing aid is where they amplify the sound to give you the sound that you're not hearing.
Right.
But if you're not hearing it at all because you completely lost that tone, then a hearing aid will do nothing for you. So I was stuck in this spot where I can't get a hearing aid. So at that time, a cochlear implant was new technology. It was a almost like a backpack you would wear with 4 double D batteries in it, large batteries.
Really?
Not double D batteries in it. And then you would have a wire that would go up to your head and so on and so forth, and that's how you would hear. It was so artificial, and I'm like, I am absolutely not doing that. I'll just deal with what I'm dealing with. Now I'm in the mortgage business. I'm married. I have kids. I'm coaching baseball. I figured it out. I just figured it out. I was, my mortgage customers, I'm like, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just text me that number that you just said? Because I didn't know. What do you make a year? Is it 50,000, 60,000? I couldn't hear. Right. And that was I'm like, all right. So that brings me to the Burger 25 story. So about 12 years ago, I tell my wife, I'm like, listen, we're going to have to do something because I might not be able to hear. And if I can't hear, we have no income. If we have no income, I don't know what I'm going to do. What's going to happen here? Because if I can't hear, it's a really big problem. Wow. And my hearing was slowly but surely getting worse and worse.
Right.
So,
dude, that's fucking crazy.
right. So this leads me to, all right, so I have to pivot in life. You know, I'm like, all right, so I have this, you know, I have a career. I'm doing really well in mortgages. Like when in the mortgage world, I go to President's Club trips. I do really well, but now I'm starting to struggle, and it's like very frustrating because I'm generally a pretty decent salesperson.
Yeah.
Help people out, love doing what I'm doing, but I can't hear them, which is making it really super difficult. So I had to pivot. I say I have to protect my family's income somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've always had a desire to want to be a business owner.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, all right, well, this is how God's going to force me to do it, right? So boom, right?
Dude.
Right. So the reality is I was like, all right, so we didn't have a lot of money. I
Yeah.
told my wife, I'm like, all right, so what do you want to do? She's
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? I'm like, listen, I can run anything from behind the scenes. If I don't have to talk to somebody, I don't have to hear them, whatever, I'll help you, but we should have a business just in
Right.
case. And she's like, all right. I'm like, what are you comfortable with? She's like, ice cream. I'm like, all right, ice cream store. I'm like, that's easy. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll find an ice cream store. We didn't have enough money to build one from scratch
Right.
because, you know, you have to cut out all the plumbing and all that. I'm
Yeah.
like, why don't we buy someone's ice cream store that's going out of business?
Yeah.
We'll take it. And I had this whole concept. I was going to do ice cream sandwiches, fresh baked cookies, so on and so forth. I was like, I'm going to take somebody's ice cream store that's going out of business and just reinvent it
Right.
and make it our own. And I was going to call it Smash, where you smash two cookies together, ice cream
Love
sandwiches, or
it.
custom ice cream sandwiches. It's going to be amazing. This was 12 years ago. It wasn't
Right.
happening yet. She's like, okay, find it. So where do you find a business? I don't know. I called realtors. Realtors
Yeah.
like, I don't really have anything. Couldn't find anything. So I went to Craigslist. I'm like, all right, I'm going to search Craigslist. And for a
freaking
year and a half,
Craigslist.
I'm looking on Craigslist
Yeah.
of all places for
Yeah.
a business. And every day there's new businesses, and I'm always interested.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm always searching ice cream.
Right.
Right. So Burger 25 started out at 1611 Route 37, which happens to be next door to Rich's Ice Cream.
I know
All right?
exactly where that is.
All right, so Rich's Ice Cream in Route 37. I'm searching for ice cream stores. I'm like, oh, Rich's. I would buy Rich's. No, it's not Rich's. It's a burger place.
Oh.
So, but it's within my budget. It's,
Sheesh.
you know, here, full disclosure, $60,000. I'm like, all right. I'm like, that works with my budget. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not an ice cream store. It's next to an ice cream store. Oh, shit, I got to pivot here. What am I going to do? So I call my wife. I'm like, listen, before I open this can of worms, you know that burger joint on Route 37? She's like, no. I'm like, it's called Burger 25. Like, I think it's just open. Like, I don't know what's up.
Yeah.
They're trying to sell it. Like, you want to go there for dinner? Like, she's like, Steve, I got to go. Hangs up the phone. I'm like, no, call back. She's like, Steve, we're not buying a burger restaurant. We're ice cream. I'm like, I know, but it's next to ice cream. Like, they have milkshakes.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
So, long story short, 30 days later, we're closing on Burger 25.
Wow.
So,
Dude, so wait, so sick. So many people are gonna be like, wow. Because number one, when you think about it, I love that you obviously, you know, mentioned God and, you know, him
Right.
steering your life and stuff. But it's crazy how, you know, how he works, right? And so when you think about, you know, so without your hearing, you know, challenge at the time, technically there would never have been a Burger 25, you know,
Maybe not.
or the
I mean,
continuation of
I
it.
can't
right?
imagine there would have
Right.
been. If I had perfect hearing, I would have just killed it in mortgages.
You just kept going.
Yeah, right. It's fine.
But that's so insanely epic, man.
Yeah.
So all right. So now with that said, because I don't think a lot of people know that story either.
No, not a lot of
So
people don't.
okay. So boom. So you get this place. Boom.
Yeah.
You jump in.
Yeah.
Talk to me. What's the first 30 days looking like here?
I mean, it's crazy. So the day that my wife hung up on me, we did go to dinner that night, right? At Burger 25.
Yeah.
It looked like every 50s burger joint on the planet,
Right.
right? It was white, it was red, it was checkerboards. It was kind of felt like I was in Five Guys, but it was different. Half
Right.
the menu items were out of stock.
Right.
I joked there's boogers on the wall. There really was. Like, it was gross. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was Stop and Shop ketchup bottles on the table. instead
Stop
of
it.
Like regular, you know, like everything about it was, to me, everything about it was wrong.
Right.
My wife's like, good, we got to get out of here. I'm like, no. Like, there's so much opportunity. Like, if you can't see the mistakes that they're making, then you're
Right.
right. We should get out of here. But if I can clearly see like 25 mistakes and
Right.
I'm here, like, I know what to fix.
Right.
Like, I think I know what to fix.
You see the opportunities.
Right. Exactly.
But now, so when did you leave that location? When you went to the main, like that
7
big
years
location?
later. 7
Wow.
years
So you were there for 7 years.
7 years.
Now, were you able to make that company profitable the first year, or was it like?
No, 1,000%. So I was the first. I bought a business that was
Yeah.
going out of business.
Right.
I didn't know it was going out of business. I thought it was kind of tread and water. It was going out of business. So we came in,
Yeah.
new ownership. We were only open for 6 months there.
Right.
So somebody had a great idea. In my opinion, great idea. Just executed a little bit wrong, right?
Right.
You could execute. Put some Heinz ketchup on the table. Put some, Coke instead of Pepsi. Maybe paint it up and don't make it look like everyone else. Like,
Yeah.
you got to be different.
Yeah.
You either want to run with the pack or you want to be ahead of the pack, right?
Totally.
I always want to be ahead of the pack or outside of the pack. I don't
Yeah.
want to be with them. So it was about a year and a half where we started to like not have to put money into the business every single month.
Nice.
It was
So-
fighting the fight, fighting the fight. And then, it was year 2, maybe 2.5. I was a madman with social media before anybody was really a madman with social media.
Yeah.
Like I was, and now I'm in the mortgage business.
Yeah.
I'm literally going deaf at the same
Right.
time too. Like
Right.
literally going deaf. Like when I
Yeah.
tell you I'm going deaf, like at that time I could hear 30% of any spoken word.
Okay. So
Right?
it's very fuzzy, like
Right.
low.
Yeah, it's like talking to someone like this. Like,
Got it.
that's what I
Got
would
it.
hear. You'd
Okay.
hear it, but you don't hear it. You
Yeah.
can't pronounce
You're not
it.
making it out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you'd put it together with lip reading, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But in the mortgage world, over the phone, that's kind of hard.
Totally.
Right. So it was probably year 3. I back up and I tell my wife every single day, I'm like, I need a picture of a happy customer. I need a picture of an awesome cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I need a picture of us scooping ice cream. I need a picture. I just
Yeah.
need something for social media every day. She's like, Steve, I don't freaking know what do you want? I'm like, just send me anything. Just send me a
Right.
kid that walked in that's playing our video game and him smiling. It's enough
Yeah.
for me for the day.
Yeah.
So I would do this every single day.
Which, by the way, I just did this past weekend.
Right. So I
I put my son up there.
Right. There's a story behind that too. But I would tell my wife like every single day to get me pictures, and she would fight me on it. And I'd, sometimes there'd be arguments because she was busy there and whatever. But
So
she
by the way, so for people listening, so she was the operator.
she's the operator.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay, so
Behind the scenes, I'm the marketing, I'm the finances,
Got it.
I'm the creative.
Got it.
She's operating.
Got it, okay.
At that point, so she would send me the pictures. I would post them on Instagram and social media, so on and so forth. So I get a call 3 years into this thing.
Yeah.
We're kind of making a little bit of money, whatever.
Yeah.
I get a call 3 years into this thing from MSN.com. They actually sent an email and they said, "Can you please call us? We want to confirm something." I'm like, MSN.com. What is MSN.com?
They still alive?
Yeah, exactly.
Still a thing?
But 7 years ago, it was.
That's true. It's more relevant then.
MSN. So MSN was Microsoft. It's Microsoft
Yeah.
essentially. So it's
like their news or
they
whatever.
had like a Yahoo kind of.
Exactly. Exactly.
And they reached out and they said, "Listen, we're doing an article on the top burgers in every state in the United States, and we chose yours." We had Frisky Whiskey. It's a burger I made. I thought it was awesome. Whatever.
Yep.
And I took pictures of it all the time. And they're like, we saw your Frisky Whiskey and we want to vote that one as the best burger in New Jersey. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I'm like, why? He's like,
You're like,
from a
MSN, I
popularity
love you.
contest, we all sat around in meetings and we looked at all the different options and
Yeah.
we just chose you. I'm like, that's fantastic. I'm like, great. So I thought nothing of it. I called my wife. I'm like, hey, Frisky Whiskey, best burger in New Jersey. I don't know where that's going to go, Denise, but they're evidently
But pretty cool.
They're going to write an article. It's going to come out tomorrow. I was like, all right, awesome. Well, I'm in a mortgage world in Wall Township at the time. My wife calls me. She's like, what did you do? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you don't understand. Look at the camera. It's like, and I always look at the camera.
Yeah.
Line out the door.
Wow.
I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I don't know. Everybody's like, oh, you guys were voted best burger in the state. Well, what happens is MSN syndicated that same exact story to Asbury Park Press,
Oh, so it
to
was-
all the local news, and then all
Got
these
it.
like
They picked it up.
NJ.com. Everybody's
Yep.
now all of a sudden New Jersey 101.5 is talking about it.
Dude, it's everywhere.
I'm like, holy crap, we're in this 1,500 square foot, you know.
Thank you, God.
Right, thank you.
Right.
But it's persistence beats resistance, right? So
Right.
you just keep freaking going, annoy your wife, and make her send you pictures, and hopefully something good will come from
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Right? But that's essentially what happened. So from that day
That's
forward,
insane.
it was, and I could say that was our point. That's that straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
And then boom, the floodgates opened, and we started really, really killing it from that point forward.
Just when we think that MSN didn't do nothing good for anybody.
Yeah, what the hell's MSN?
But boom.
Right.
So that's incredible.
Yeah,
Okay, so boom, there you go. But so the cool part, so how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
2 kids, got it. And they're involved in the business too, right?
My son is very involved in the business. My
Yeah.
daughter is a nurse, wants
Okay.
to be involved
Got
in
it.
the business. It's like,
Got
that's
it.
part-time.
I think I saw him on social media. I think Blaze was telling me about him.
Yeah.
He was like doing one of the things in front of the building, like threw up a thing.
Yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
him. Yeah.
So I love that though. You know, one of the things too, like I think that is so cool and epic about what you guys do is most people say, how the hell can you work with your family? It's so messy.
Yeah, it's definitely
Most people
messy.
get divorced, you know, all this other crazy crap. But dude, the crazy thing, and the food and bev is intense, right?
Yeah.
Food and bev is it's prep. You got to get everything. There's a gazillion things going to food and bev, right?
Yeah, 1,000%.
So, and then doing with family,
Yeah.
throw on a whole other layer.
Listen,
So-
I went in without the research, right? I went in wanted an ice cream store, came out with a burger place.
Yeah.
You know, and if you read the stats, if I understood the stats, I probably would never have done it.
Facts.
Small businesses, when it comes to a restaurant,
Yeah.
90% fail in the first year.
Wow.
You know, and then there's another stat, like another 70% of those 90, of those, that 10% that are left, another 70% last past 5 years.
Wow.
And if I knew those stats, I probably would have been like, oh yeah, you're right, Denise. She hung up on me.
Like,
God said,
we're gonna be the
"Okay,
10%?"
I'll just do mortgages. But I really was like in you know, in my personal standpoint, I was in a panic zone. Like I had to do something.
Yeah.
I was searching for a year and a half. I finally found something that made sense in our budget. I felt like I could do it. And I was like, it's just something told me I had to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's so incredible, Steve. So now here you are, obviously now you have 2 locations.
yes.
About to open up your 3rd, right? Where do you see this going, like in the next, like, let's call it 5 years, 10 years?
So I'm going to back up for a second because we're missing a piece of the story.
Oh, yeah, hit me.
5 years into the business.
Okay.
I wake up one day, deaf.
Yeah.
I wake up one day at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not kidding. I remember this day like forever.
Yeah.
At 2 o'clock in the morning. You know when you get off an airplane, your ears pop?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So imagine living in that world and just progressively gets worse and worse and worse.
Oh.
And it never pops. Like
That's difficult.
Annoying, right? So 5 years into owning Burger 25, I woke up 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, Denise, I don't think I can hear. And I couldn't hear my own voice. And that makes like tears, right? Like I'm a grown adult. I got kids.
Yeah.
Holy crap. My reality that I thought might come one day, here it is.
Right.
And she's like, you know, she'd always be like, your ears will pop. Don't worry. Just go to sleep. And in the morning, it'll be better. Well, I woke up in the morning and my ears did pop a little bit, but I literally lost a massive amount of hearing. Like what was left at that point was gone.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, holy crap, what am I going to do? You know? So I panicked. I went to, you know, I was like, listen, Denise, I'm going to do stem cells. I'm going to do something. I was fine. I was like, we're going to Panama. We're doing this. And she's like, what are you fucking nuts? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I got to fix this. Like, she's like, Steve, just come on. You got to go to real doctors. I'm like, bottom line, I got myself involved in a clinical trial.
Okay. Locally?
In Columbia University Hospital.
Okay.
Which surrounded me with the best hearing doctors on the planet.
I was going to say Columbia's nuts.
It's freaking
in
amazing.
a great way.
My doctor was amazing. The surgeon was amazing. And the team up there was amazing. And from day one, when he said, listen, you're going to be the 11th person in this clinical trial. It was like a clinical trial. They inject genes into your cochlea, inside your head. And it's a surgery. Novartis is there. There's all these, you're number 11 in the whole world. I'm like, all right, this is going to work.
Number 11? Awesome.
Right. So it's going to regrow it's called hair cells that are inside your cochlea. It's not ear hair, but it's hair cells inside your cochlea. Everybody's born with 20,000 of them. When you start losing your hearing, they disintegrate and they never grow back. Well, they figured out a way in lab mice to regrow these hair cells. Yeah. So they're now testing it on humans. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm like, here we are. So, but it surrounded me with this. So my doctor was very up front with me. He's like, listen, the chances of this working are slim to none. You're going to get a very, very low dose. It's all for safety right now. The chances of it working are this is very, very new. Yeah. He's like, you're going to have to come up here for 6 months. You're going to have to come up here for, literally an 8 to 9 hour day of a barrage of tests for 6 months. Are you in? And to me, I was like, yes, absolutely. If I can help like the society get like a fix for this, absolutely. He's like, Steve, based on the way you communicate with the amount of hearing that you do have, he's like, I'm gonna change your life in 6 months. I promise you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you need a cochlear implant. The technology's gotten so much better. You could stream conversations from your phone to your processor. He's like, I'm gonna change your life. So at the time, I would go into sound booths and I would hear 4% of spoken words. Okay. So in a sound booth, in this scenario, you would speak 100 words. I would get 96 wrong and I'd get 4 right. It was horrifying. Yeah. So fast forward to get a cochlear implant. Boom. I'm 5 years into owning Burger 25. I'm 20 years into the mortgage business. Right. I'm like fish out of water. Like, holy crap, what am I going to do? And cochlear implant. After you get a cochlear implant, you have to rehab your hearing, which is like, you just got to listen to stuff. So I started listening to a lot of books and so on and so forth. And 6 months later, I go back into a sound booth. I have a cochlear implant. I'm getting used to it. And I'm 98% word recognition. Oh, right. So now I go from, I'll miss 2 words out of 100. That's just basically everybody else on the planet. Totally. And now I'm like, all right, holy crap. I'm like, the only analogy I give you is I had a ball and chain and it's gone. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, all right, what do I do? Like, what do I do now? Like, oh shit, I have this burger thing that I probably wouldn't have had that not happened. Yeah. But it's doing pretty well. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna focus there a little bit. Yeah. I'm like, but I have the mortgage business and I've been really good at that, but I've really never been able to do, like, the mortgage business is all about networks and relationships. Building your relationships. Like, let's go out to lunch, let's talk to a realtor, so on and so forth. And I never really could do that because in those kind of environments, I couldn't hear, so I just avoided them. So I just kind of like made my own way. So now I'm like, hold on, the light bulb goes off and I'm like, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it in mortgages. That's what I'm going to do. And this is like 2017, 2018. I got my feet back wet. I started networking and meeting realtors and so on and so forth, put my network together. And then pandemic hit, 2020.
COVID, boom.
And then, I was doing $100 million in business a year in the mortgage world, which is freaking crazy. But I still have this business, right? So when you get into business, what some people don't think about is, number one, they want to make it, right? Number two, it's like, how the heck do you get out of it eventually, right? Like, what do you do to get out?
Like an exit.
What's the exit strategy?
Yeah.
I don't know I haven't thought about it, but now all of a sudden I'm starting to think about it. I'm like, all right, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I have a son. He's part of, you'll see him on social media all the time.
Yep. What's his name?
Name's Aiden Vetter. He is he's graduated from Donovan 2 years ago.
Yep.
He's the mini version of me, with good hearing and better hair. But he's, to me, he's got the same kind of personality. Like, just I'm gonna kill it. Whatever I get, I'm gonna kill it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna hand off my mortgage business to him because that's seems to be the easier job.
Think again.
Right? It's more glamorous looking from the outside looking in, and has zero interest in it. And this is something that hits home because I tell the story to some people, and you have to realize what you're doing. When you're successful, there's a lot of sacrifices. And just know where you put those sacrifices is my only suggestion. Because as an 18-year-old, my son came to me and he's like, Dad, I want nothing to do with the mortgage business, to be honest with you. You can make as much money as you want. He's like, you don't understand how many Yankees games we went to. You're in the corridor on the phone with somebody
doing
about a closing.
Right.
He's like, you weren't here. You weren't there. And I'm like, and I hit home, right? So it's like, if I give anything back to this audience that listens to this, if anybody is going to listen to this, there's somebody told me something a long time ago. It's put a chip in your pocket and have it be the reminder to be here now, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. If you're with your kids, be with your kids. Yeah. If you're at work and you're doing mortgages, do mortgages. If you're in a burger restaurant, then be the best option there, right?
Yeah. Be where your feet are.
But don't be somewhere else. And that all hit home when my son said that. I was like, I have a book of business. He could, literally make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars with my book of business. Right. And he's deciding not to do it because he doesn't want to be like I was. Wow. Him growing up. That hit home. It hurts, right? Yeah. But, all right, it is what it is. I'm like, all right, so what do you want to do? He's like, I love the burger business. I just do. Dad, I love it. He's like, I think we could franchise it. So I'm getting to your question, which was 25 minutes ago, and I apologize. But the answer is like, what do you do? Like Burger 25, it's grown from one location that's 1,500 square feet. 7 years in, we moved to a double the square footage. That changed the entire business. We did it right in the middle of COVID. It's 160 seats indoor and outdoor. Last year we bought a location in LBI. I'm actually friends with Rob Nagel from Surf Taco. So we worked. He's the owner of Surf Taco. We worked out a deal to purchase his ship bottom location. We completely renovated it. My son at this, 18, 19, he turns 19 last year in the middle of summer. So he started as an 18-year-old and managed that store like a champ.
In Ship Bottom?
In Ship Bottom, Ship Bottom right on the island.
Question: What's the comparison to the one in Tom's River now? Is it the same size almost or no?
No, it's so.
Because Tom's River is like fucking sick.
Yeah, so Tom's River is larger than Ship Bottom from a customer standpoint, right? Okay. Because what you don't know when you walk into Tom's River, there's a 3,000 square foot basement for storage. In LBI, we have basically the equivalent size store, but we don't have the storage. So we had to steal some of the square footage that the customers would typically for the storage. So although it is the same size, it isn't.
But sorry, continue. So he's running LBI.
He's running LBI. He's killing it. That store is beating our Tom's River store. Our Tom's River store is an animal. It really is. It's insane.
It's a juggernaut.
Right. To beat that store with a smaller footprint store, it's insane.
It's tough, yeah.
But LBI is fun, man. Like LBI, and going into it, you did a lot of research on LBI, and what happens in LBI is people rent homes in LBI for $30,000-$40,000 for a week. Yeah. Right. But it's not like a husband, a wife, and 2 kids. It's a husband, a wife, and 3 kids, and then 4 other families all share it. Yeah. And they go into these big houses, and there's not enough restaurants there. Because everybody wants to buy the houses they can rent for $30,000 a month instead of owning restaurants. Totally. So slowly but surely, restaurants disappeared. They put ordinance in place for that not to happen. Wow. Actually, but now, so what would happen is those big families, they all want to go out to dinner at the same time, but they can't because all the restaurants can't handle them. So I'm like, if I just embrace takeout like there's no tomorrow, like our average ticket in LBI would, like a ticket, you have, whatever, 5, 6, 7 items, it would be like 42 items. Like,
wow.
holy crap,
Are you serious?
So these giant orders will come in because the people renting these big
Makes
houses,
sense.
they all
Makes
want to
sense.
eat together. They actually want to spend time in
Don't eat their place. They're paying $30,000 for.
Right. Exactly.
Rightfully so.
Right. So it's like fun. It's like you're navigating through that,
Yeah. Dude, you hit home with me. So I have a 1-year-old. So you said there was a story behind that. Did you when you reshared it?
What's that?
I don't know. I told you I posted my son and tagged you guys. You said there was a story behind that. I don't know if
I forget, dude.
All right, but nonetheless. So I have a 14-month-old.
Okay.
And then we have twins in the way.
Okay. Awesome.
Right.
Congrats.
So so we're at 3 under 2.
All right.
Right. So, but I'm a big proponent. Also, the people watching and listening to this, mostly are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. Now, before I had my son, I remember before COVID too, I was always on the go, right? Like because I started, my primary company Adapting when I was 17, right? I'm 32 now.
Awesome.
And so when I was out there doing that, I was nonstop working. So I get engaged. I really rarely see my fiance at the time, my wife. We get married. Still, I'm out early, home late, like all that stuff. And I remember I had a conversation at the time with a business coach, and I go, when I have kids, like I need to be present. I had some family shit, from the past, my dad, that I wanted to make sure I didn't do. And so I was like, I got to be there. I was like, but everybody that I interview, that's my clients. I have clients who are billionaires, millionaires, whatever. I'll ask them like, hey, how do you find the balance? Yeah. And at that time, everybody's like, there is none. If you're scaling, which we were at the time, we still are. They're like, you're just going. You're always going. Business comes first. And so anyway, so my coach said something pretty profound to me. He's like, if you can subscribe to that, right? And you could say that's my reality, or you can say I'm gonna figure out a way. So anyway, COVID happens. I wind up being home because nobody wants to meet in person anymore. So now I'm not flying here, going here, doing whatever, just home. And what you just said about your kids, like, I don't want to be on a phone with my kids, or like they don't want to do that, right?
Yeah, like I was present. Like the mortgage business affords you the ability to leave and do it over the phone and whatever. So I was always present. I would always be at the soccer games and be at the Little League and softball and so on and so forth. But was I there? No, I wasn't. I was
like your physical location.
I'm on the phone. I'm out in the outfield.
Right.
Did you see her hit a home run? Like the dog?
I saw.
You're lying to yourself.
Right.
You're lying to your family, and you're like, damn. Yeah. And you got to get out of your own way sometimes with that stuff and say, you know what? But in my mortgage business, I learned that when I got my hearing back, that I was going to do it different. I knew those were my problems, and I made a team. Right. Yeah. I have now when I'm out, someone's taking care of what's going on. So you have to put pieces in place in your life to be able to be present.
Do these things, right?
Because I get it. If you have the mentality that you're an entrepreneur and you just want more, you want more, that's great, and you're probably going to be successful. But at what expense? So add the expense of help along the way. Put a manager in. Put a manager's going to cost you a little bit of money. Yeah. Okay. They can handle a lot of the tasks that you're taking in the outfield. Then that's so worth it. It's unbelievable.
100%. But so the question you kind of answered, but I'm going to ask a little bit deeper for the people who are maybe expecting parents, or not parents yet, but obviously have a family in the future. If how do you want your kids to remember you? So I'm going to do an exercise. I'm going to simulate to close, because we're close to the end here. Yeah. So typically towards the end we do this, but so there's a little bit of an exercise. It's a question and an exercise.
Right.
So with legacy, typically we think about legacy, where your feet are planted right here in the studio in Point Pleasant Beach here today, to the future and how you're remembered by your family, your kids, their kids, whatever. Now we're going to reverse engineer that, right? So instead of us thinking this way forward, we're going to think backwards, right? So if we're sitting here, so I want to paint it like a picture like a movie real quick for you. So it's your son, your daughter, their kids, right?
Coming.
And and it's their kids, right? And they're at your gravestone, let's call it, right? And in this, just for this exercise, for this example, obviously you never have to meet their kids, right? Now your son says, I wish you met Grandpa Steve. He was. Yeah. What would he say?
He was awesome. He was creative. He was, if it was in his way, he'd find a way around it. He cared about his family.
Yeah.
Right? He cared about his family so much that he left all of this to him. You know, I have 13 rental properties on top of it, right? Those are all going to my family, right? All that stuff.
Yeah.
I have a restaurant business that's, you know, I could have stopped at one. I was fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, hopefully we'll be able to franchise that one day. It'll be something way, way bigger.
Yeah.
But at the same time, nothing's given.
Right.
So my son, my daughter, everything's earned, right? They might have nice things, but they earn it, right? My son was flipping sneakers at 12 years old, and by the time he was 18, he had $26,000 from flipping sneakers and Supreme stuff, right? So
Let's go.
you like teach them, like, you
I
gotta teach your
gotta
kids,
hit that for that one.
Right. So it's just that kind of stuff. Like, nothing's given, everything's earned, and but, you know, and that's who I am.
What advice would you give to a parent? Because I think that's really cool that your son's flipping sneakers, making money like that already, right? Now, some parents don't maybe give their kids that mindset. What advice would you give to develop a child to have that mindset?
Nothing's easy, right? And don't make it easy.
Right.
If you punish your kid and you say you're going to take their PlayStation away, take it away.
And
don't
actually take it.
Right. And if you're going to make a rule, stick by the rule.
Yeah.
Like growing up, my kids, my son, I saw a lot of kids go the wrong direction with video games. As a perfect example, my son, I'm like, listen, can we make a rule about this? I don't want you to get addicted to this stuff. He's like, what? What's the rule? I'm like, how about if it's dark or it's raining? That's the rule. That's when you can play video games. Yeah. Outside of that, like, we're doing stuff. He's like, we're moving. He's like, all right, fine, I'm in. That's the rule. Yeah. You know, my daughter, I was crazy. Like, I'm crazy. My daughter, like, when she was a teenager, started getting like peer pressure to go to like parties and drinking and so on and so forth. I'm like, listen, Lex, I'm going to buy a breathalyzer. It's going to sound crazy, but it's going to take the peer pressure away from you because you can just blame it on me. You just be like, my dad's going to give me a breathalyzer when I get home. And I'll have it. I will. I'll do it.
Dude, I love you. I love this guy.
But it helps her.
It
helps her in those social environments where the peer pressure will be like, oh, I can't because if it's a party, I'm not allowed to sleep out and my dad's nuts. But he's nice, but he's nuts.
Rob, I'm going to start doing that, Rob, now. We're checking the breathalyzer every time this guy goes out now. But I like that a lot. I'm going to steal that. I'm stealing that, dude. I'm stealing that.
This might be off the record, too. Off the record, like, take your kid's door.
Yeah, oh my God.
I'll take your
That's
kid's
badass.
door.
Just for you to take it off the thing.
No, like, my daughter would get in trouble. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, and she would slam the door, and I'm like, you didn't even buy that door. Like, that's not your door to slam. My wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not in a calm way. I'm like, and she's like, what are you fucking doing? I'm like, I'm taking her door. She'll get it back next week. Right. I'm like, your door's gone. Don't ever slam it again. Right. You can have it back next week. And that's a lesson. Like, I want my privacy. I'm like, I'm not hanging out by your door, but you lost your privacy for a week.
You did this.
Congrats.
Dude, you know what? It's so, what great advice. What great advice. Because, you know what? Ultimately, I had this great conversation. This lady up in New York, she was the former CFO of Chase Bank. Yeah, awesome. And so I had a meeting with her, and we were talking, and she was just like, wow, we were going through like just my journey and all that stuff. And she's like, wow, and she's talking about hers. And I said to her, because her son, you know, both of her kids like were super successful dudes. One was a doctor, very successful. Other guy was in finance, very successful. And I said, what's the secret? Like, how did you get your kids there, right? Like, to that point, because I want my kids there. Yeah. Literally said exactly what you said. She goes, keep your promises, but also keep your threats.
Yeah, 1,000%.
She goes, keep your threats. And she goes, you want to know why I did that?
It's hard. It's hard.
It's so difficult, right?
It's so hard to do that. Like,
dude,
you're not having a snack tonight. Right now, you're probably at that age, right? And it's like, you're not having a snack tonight. It's like, you want them to see that. You want to see that smile, man.
You do.
Just take it away.
My father-in-law, so my wife, I guess, is from Tom's River. My father-in-law, when I asked, his blessing for to marry, obviously, his daughter, my wife, he said the best piece of advice to me, too. He goes, if you don't raise your kid right, you'll have a big kid for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that sat with me. Because he's like, and he goes, it's really hard. It's going to be tough. You don't want to give them everything.
You just want to satisfy. We're in a world of, like, an entrepreneur wants to satisfy people, right? You want to satisfy people. And you have to take that, and it's like, wait, I can't always satisfy my kids, and I have to sometimes come across the absolute opposite of that and not satisfy them. And make them mad at me. Yeah. Like, it is what it is. Because eventually, he'll get mad at himself. Right. Instead of the person that's doing it. He'll understand that if I don't do the right thing, I'm gonna see some problems in my life going forward, you know? Yeah. So what advice would you give yourself? So if you were to go back, which obviously clearly, I was gonna say the most vulnerable moment of your life, which you shared already. Yeah. What advice would you give yourself, like, with what you know today, that you'd give yourself at that point in time? Like, if you, again, time machine, you see yourself walk into the bathroom, like, huh? Surround yourself with help.
Yeah.
For real, as much as you possibly can, right? There's a price to pay for help, but at the same time, that help will change everything else. It'll let you get so much further in life.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a circumstance in front of you, don't ignore it. Like I ignored it for a while, right? I could have changed my life 10 years ago and I didn't, right? With the hearing aspect of it. Just honestly, just think about everything that you're doing and how is it going to impact not only today, but a week from now, or 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. Listen, I'm the most unpolished, I don't call myself successful person you'll see, but at the end of the day, you know, never stop learning. You know, getting a cochlear implant and having to rehab your hearing. I was told I had to listen to speech. I'm like, what are you talking about? What is that? I rehabbed your arm because you broke it. Okay, I get it. Rehab your hearing because you lost it.
I'm just listening.
What am I doing? And it forced me to like listen to books. I must listen to 10 books a year now.
Wow.
You know?
Do you have a favorite like personal development book?
There's right now I'm listening to Your Next 5 Moves.
Okay, I've seen it. I've never read it yet.
Amazing book.
Wow.
They got it and started the insurance company and, you know, grew it. And, I listened to Living with Seal. Have you ever listened to that book? Jesse Itzler. Jesse Itzler's like an awesome person.
Yeah.
He's just insane. He's the one that he married the girl that created Spanx.
Okay.
For women.
Yes.
Do
you hear her story, by the way?
Yeah, her story's crazy.
Crazy. For people who don't know this, don't forget your thought. But people who don't know this, the part that I love the most about her story that she's now transparent about is that everybody always says fake it till you make it, right? Which in some cases is true. Like, get out there, work your ass off. You know, I gotta go talk to my team. You don't have a team, right? Like those things. Like, don't pretend too much. But she said how when she got her first order, you know, she went and had all of her friends buy the stock. Yeah. Right. So that whatever Macy's, Nordstrom thought that people wanted it and quickly. Yeah. So then they gave her another store. Boom. She went and bought all the inventory again, and then she kept buying the inventory. Technically, right? Nobody wanted it, right? But because she made those moves and grinded her ass off, coordinated people
paying attention.
Right. Well, then the store was like, all right, these are going like hotcakes. Let's put them everywhere. Boom. Now she's an instant overnight success. And then people see the value and want to buying it like crazy. Right. But it's like, the one thing I love that you keep saying in a roundabout way is that life is messy. Yeah. Life was never designed to, but that's the problem with most of it. I'll just say Americans, right?
I heard the best thing the other day. You can choose to drive down Route 37 in Tom's River. Yeah. There's stoplights to protect you from going to the next thing. There's yield signs. There's, you know, you could use your Google Maps and it'll tell you where to go and how to get home or how to get to the restaurant you're going to. Yeah. Or you can go off-roading. And an entrepreneur is off-roading. You don't know where the next ditch is going to be. You don't know if that puddle's too deep. Totally. And sometimes you got to drive through it.
You have to.
So, and that's the difference.
That's the thing. Is like, I think the problem in America, right, and the problem I feel like with social media with younger kids is that they think, and we all think, that we're supposed to always be happy. Yeah. That's why the depression rate and the anxiety rate has been the highest ever historically, right? Because it's like, I'll never forget, we have a lot of clients in, you know, Europe, and the first time me and my wife went on a business trip to Paris, we're out here in Paris, we're meeting some of our clients, and we're sitting there, and this guy I never met, he essentially was a friend of one of my clients. And people from France don't love us to begin with, right? They think we're annoying. Right. But so I had this conversation, and the guy looks at me and he goes, why are you so over the top? Like, he like was trying to like say it in English, but he's like, why are you so over the top? Like, he felt like I was like putting on this act instead of just being like, all right, well, hey, how you doing? Like, being like normal, relaxed. He's like, why are you so giddy and like up in there or whatever? And he's like, you Americans always have to pretend to be happy. But that's just, luckily, that's just who I am. So I'm like, dude, that's just me. No, that's not me. But he is right, though. Most people, like, that's why on social media, everybody's posting the great things in their life, right? They're not posting the shitty things. Right. So it's like, we all think, oh, wow, look, Steve's doing this, you know, Rob's doing this, John's doing this. Right. But like, I might lose my house, you know, and whatever, like, you know, if they're in that bad place. Right. But it's like, at the end of the day, life is so messy. And that's the thing. It's like, even the most successful people, anybody watching this, your idols, you think they're perfect people, but they're not. Oh, absolutely. And their shit is messy, man. I remember the first time one of my first ever billionaire clients that we started working with, went to his house. I'm touring he owns this freaking crazy, it's all the way up North Jersey, but he owns a park essentially. It's a state park, but he has like 5 mansions that overlook the top of Jersey. It's crazy. Yeah. I'm going through this guy's mansions, right? And I'm looking at all this stuff, and I just start to see that like there's so many different challenges in this guy's life that like you think when you're that wealthy that you don't have problems. You'd be like, oh, why?
Problems.
But there's a gazillion this guy has. And there's, in some cases, way more than normal people. And so point being is that even the craziest people you admire, look up to, shit's messy. Right? Super, super messy. So to your point, I feel like you've been saying that in a roundabout way.
Yeah, you gotta
that's life.
Listen, life's about a million decisions that you make, right? Stacked up on each other. And every decision leads to another example, success or failure. And you got to look at your failures and you got to say, listen, this is so cliche, but you got to look at your failures as a learning opportunity. They really are. I mean, like, all right, why didn't that work? Like, did I give up too soon, or was it just a bad idea? All right, whatever. Spend some time on it and then move on and do it better the next time. But life is about decisions, man. The better decisions you make, that guy that has the houses looking over the thing, he's made a bunch of really, really good decisions. He's also made a bunch of bad decisions. But he learned from them, I'm sure. Without even knowing them.
And that's it. It's taking the learning opportunities, like you said, and not being like pity party. But the last thing I have for you, though, and I don't know, it's made me think about this, but my wife is like my everything, dude. She's my rock, right? Like I wouldn't, to this point, like when I was younger, I built a business, I was doing pretty well young, like teens, I was doing pretty well. And if it wasn't for her, I'd be a dumbass, right? But point being is, she's giving me structure. She has my back. She's the CFO of all my different companies. It sounds like Denise is like your rock. Like it sounds like she's like,
I can't do anything that I'm doing without her.
Right. So talk to me about that. So
So listen, as much as she'll fight me on things, I'll win most of the time. Or I'll allow her to win, but I really want. She is. It's the same thing. You listen. That's one of the when we talk about decisions, man. Like there is no bigger decision to who to spend the rest of your life with. Like,
oh my goodness.
If I give anybody young advice,
that's the one. Me too.
Like, just be very careful in that decision. Like,
it's
you
everything.
Got to know. It can't be like, a 2 month, and I'm not sure. Like, you gotta know, and you gotta make sure you're the right decision, because you could see people, they get divorced, they lose half their everything, and they have to start over, and they do it twice, and so on and so forth. Just choose the right person to go through the journey with.
Now, how did you meet Denise initially? You guys like high school sweethearts or something?
No. So we met. What have we met? Like 22, 23 years ago.
Yeah.
We just met through friends. I
just
mean, honestly, nothing
common
crazy.
Friends. Okay.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And but 6 months in, I'm like, this is definitely
the one.
This is the one.
Yeah.
1000%.
That's really cool.
We're married about a year and a half into our relationship.
That's cool. That's really cool.
But it was honestly, if I back up into all the decisions I've ever made in life, I mean, that's the one.
You move in.
That's the one.
Yeah. I was similar with Jacqueline. We were engaged a year in. Right, I knew. Same thing with you. I knew right away, and whatever. But dude, sorry. Thank you so much. This has been so incredible having you here. Awesome. Obviously, I'll be in way more often. My wife is obsessed. We actually, last time I went with my son and my wife, she was obsessed with the fried pickles.
Yeah. Awesome.
She's obsessed with fried pickles. But now, where can people find you? So, for somebody who's listening to this in the area, maybe never been to Burger 25. Like, I never heard of it until I was told about it.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
Yeah, burger25.com.
Yep.
Easy. The numbers 25.
Yep.
I'm in LBI, Long Beach Island, Ship Bottom. I'm in Toms River, and coming soon, the spring of 2024.
Yep.
Is going to be open in Bricktown.
Oh, so that'll be in spring.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Spring. So
good shit.
That's my new project right now. So
that's exciting, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen. First off, congrats on a lot of success you've made, man. And also, I love how you said, I'll move around things in front of me. It's really inspiring. I think so many people listening to this are going to be inspired by your journey with the hearing scenario and how you moved past it. You figured it out, and you kept building. And I love how you start off with, I have to make sure I can take care of my family. Yeah. Because if those things go. So I just think you've provided so many amazing insights and golden nuggets to just being resilient. Life is not easy.
No, there's no way.
You could have sat there and complained.
I talk in front of high schools all the time.
Yeah.
I talk to the kids about entrepreneurs, marketing classes, so on and so forth. Yep. So I'm like, some of you kids in here probably think you're going to be a D1 baseball player. You're going to go to Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
But what happens when you tear your ACL?
Right.
Not that I wish that upon anybody,
right.
but that's
life.
But that's life, and that's the bumps in the road, and you got to know how to navigate around that. What's plan B? I know a lot of these, gurus out there say, oh, plan A and that's it. Well, sometimes plan A doesn't work. You have that plan B.
That's a good point.
So
that's a great point, man. Well, thank you again, Steve. Really appreciate you. And guys, if you haven't yet, you got to go to Burger 25. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed.
Awesome. Thanks,
dude. Good stuff, dude.
Thanks, dude.